well, it's Kalinga's birthday. That's it back. That was yesterday. What did I miss? Yeah. Everybody took a nice rest since yesterday? Yeah? Okay. It's a different gear we were in, right? Everybody felt that jolt of 1,000 plates a day in summer. Whoops. You don't want to, is that glass? Yeah. Dropped, I'm always in anxiety when I see Govinda walking with the big one. So I don't want to drop that one. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajandaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Saki Panchatattva Shishikala Nishimadeva Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nashta Praesva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtiki. Before reciting of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should offer conquest, one should offer his obeisances. For regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by regular service to the devoted devotee, all their troubles unto the heart is
almost completely destroyed. Loving service unto the personality of Godhead, with praise, gratitude, and songs, is established as the hero of the whole Bhagavatam.
So today we are reading from Canto 1, Chapter 1, the questions by the sages. Hopefully there will be some additional questions by all of you. Hopefully there will be time for that. And we're covering text 2 and 3. So we're going to read Sanskrit 2 and 3, and then we're going to focus on number 2. Right? So 2 and 3. Dharma prochita kaitavotra paramo nirmastaranam satam.
Dharma prochita kaitavotra paramo nirmastaranam satam.
Is there a better meter? Lashat Goswami Ashtaka. Nande Rupa Sanatana Yuga Yuga Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam.
Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam.
Vejam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayan Mulanam.
Vedam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Paraishvara.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Paraishvara.
Sadyo Grita Varudya Tetra Kritibhi Shushrusubhistat Kshanat.
Sadyo Vidya Varudya Tetra Kritibhi Shushrusubhistat Kshanat.
Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam shatam.
Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam.
Vidyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam.
Vedam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Paririshvara.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Paririshvara.
Sadyo Hridaya Varudhya Tetra Kritivi Sushrusubhistat Kshanat.
Sadyo Vidya Varudhya Tetra Kritivi Sushrusubhistat Kshanat.
Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam.
Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam.
Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayomulanam.
Vedam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayam mulanam.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Paraishvaraha.
Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Paraishvara.
Sadyo हृद्यवरुध्यते प्रकृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणा
सयोरियवरुध्यते प्रकृतिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्.
Anybody else? No? All right. Word by word? All together.
Rose is not completely rejected. Advaita, covered by purification. Acharya, Brahma, the highest. Devasaranam, 100% pure in heart. Satam, devotees. Vidyam, understandable. Vastavam, actual. Atra, hidden. Vasu, substance. Shodam, holy. Tapatraya, threefold disease. Mangulam, causing uprooting of. Shikshu, beautiful. Bhagavate, the Bhagavad Purana. Mahamuni, the great sage Vyasadeva. Krite, having compiled. Kim, what is. Va, beneath. Pare, others. Ishvara, supreme Lord. Satya, at once. Riddhi, within the heart. Avarudhite, comes compact. Atra, hearing. Prithvi, by the pious men. Sushrushvi, by culture. Akshana, without delay.
Translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion, from the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. And purport, we can that's a long purport. What about text 3? Should we? Yeah, so let me just read the translation, then we're going to take turns in purports too. Oh, expert and thoughtful men, this is the call for action. Oh, expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanates from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, included liberated souls. This is also another famous verse. Maybe before we go to the purport of 2, to mention that in some other places, this Bhagavatam Purana is a ripened fruit of all Vedic literature, is described as a fruit that has no, imagine a fruit that has no seed, no skin, no obstruction that will stop you from relishing it fully and continuously in a nice flow. You know, let's say mango, you have this mango fruit, very nice fruit, it's a king of all fruits. But imagine a mango without that, you know, that seed of mango is like very frustrating, right? You wanted more, but it's like all hairy and stuck to your teeth. Like you wanted more, you suck it for more, but it's like, it's just there between that frustrating part and another frustrating part that you got to peel. It's called skin. so you got to work for it. But imagine a mango. There's no skin, no seed. It's just pure, and somehow has the ability to repel all the impurities, all the contaminants. Because without skin, you know, it's quite vulnerable. Where's the thought? We live in a world where everything gets contaminated very quickly. Even if you park your car on enough in a parking spot, even if in a garage, right? Eventually there'll be some dust settling. Or even if you have a Maha water container, right? Maha water container that we have in it. After a while, there might be some, I call those small. I was thinking about those, the baby frogs. Tadpoles. After a while, it's just everything gets contaminated, right? So there was a beautiful quote. What did you say? That in this material world, the nature of time in this material world, it destroys all things. But imagine a fruit that has no skin, no seed, and has that ability to repel all the contaminants. And you're able to just grab it and have it at all times to your full satisfaction. That is, my dear friends, Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, Prabhu.
Chaitanya Leela, there were mangoes.
Oh, microphones, yes. Yes. As manifested by...
mentioning that point that in Chaitanya Leela there was the pastime where they had such mangoes.
As manifested by Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Leela, when he put the seed of a mango and then this tree grew very quickly. You didn't have to wait for a year or 2 or 3. He grew very quickly, and these kind of mangoes were there to the devotees and very close associates of Lord Chaitanya's full satisfaction. Are you in desire for this tree? Okay, good. So let's dive in. Let's take a bite. Actually, this verse also mentions another point, that although this ripen fruit of all Vedic literature is so sweet and nectarian, it becomes even more sweet. Can you imagine? Even better when it's tasted by Shuka, or when the bird comes, a parrot. I don't know if you have that experience, but I grew up eating, or really indulging in figs during the fig season, which actually is right now. August is a fig season, so it's quite appropriate. I used to climb, that was my favorite August breakfast. I used to climb as a kid to this big neighbor's fig tree. But this old lady, God bless her soul, she was very old but very steady in her gardening. And that also, my dear friend, is the secret to longevity. I met another guy, 90 years old, in Utah. It was his 90th birthday, but he looked like 70. I kid you not. He looked like really in good shape. So it's like, what's your secret? He said, looking straight in the eye, he says, never stop moving. So staying active. So she was like that. She was very active in the garden every day. And I guess she liked me. She said, you come, you can eat as much as you want. So I used to climb that fig tree. And I noticed those figs, same thing applies, that they were picked by a bird or even by insect. There was a lot of bees. So there's a whole, I guess, it stimulates the, it's called the process of ripening, or in a way fermentation, maybe also. I'm not sure if I was getting drunk. It wasn't like really bad, but it has to be just rightly picked. So I noticed, and those were oozing, figs were oozing from this sweet nectar. Those were like just a little picked by bird or by insect. So I always look for those because they were sweeter. So this second point here is explained, that this fruit has become even more tasteful because it has emanated from the lips of Shukadev. So the nature of Bhagavatam and the Bhagavatam Katha, that becomes even more and more, and the more you churn this nectar of Bhagavatam, the more. And that's why there's a need to bring Bhagavatam to a present day. It is not a mythology, as some Poor Stephen, he was sharing with us the things that he has exposed there at what's the university? The things that he has exposed himself to in the next couple of months. We have to pray for him. It is not something that is disconnected with the present day, with our lives, with present day life. It's something that's very relevant. So the more Bhagavatam is brought, the more we see the world and see things through the lenses of Bhagavatam, the more it becomes alive and enlivening in our heart, and more tasteful, more sweeter. It's nectarian juice. It was already relishable on the first place, but it becomes sweeter. So it's very important. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked, is Joan of Arc in Srimad Bhagavatam? You heard that story, right? You heard this story before? So somebody asked Prabhupada, is Joan of Arc in Srimad Bhagavatam? So what did Prabhupada say? Why are you trying to take Joan of Arc out of Bhagavatam? So we're Bhagavatam 12 cantos, but there's this, how do you call it, corollaries? Corollaries, right? Corollaries. The add-ons. There's these add-ons, and you can actually, there's unlimited add-ons to Bhagavatam. Of course, it has to be in the line of Bhagavatam. The message of Joan of Arc, according to Prabhupada, fits right in. So message of goodness and supreme goodness, we can see in the light of Bhagavatam. We have, major stories of Dasavatar. And Bhagavatam is all about Krishna and his devotees. But there's so many other untold stories of Bhagavatam. It's like a prakat and aprakat lila. It is manifested and unmanifested. So as we walk through life, we should try to see things in the light of Bhagavatam. That's when it becomes alive. That's just the second point here. And now we're going to take turns in reading. Quite long purport on the second verse. Hopefully we can cover it. Another thing, did you know that this is on the second point I have to share. I just crossed my mind. Did you know that Star Wars also is in Bhagavatam? If you didn't hear, there's a book. It's called Jedi in the Lotus by Satyaraj, where he explains everything. How the direct inspiration for George Lucas was Ramayana, which is the story of Ram coming in the 8th canto, I believe, right? 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And very directly, very openly, there's a confession that was the plot, that was the narrative that inspired. And if you see the main fact, main kind of element. These are what? Yeah, I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did, bought the entire set. But yeah, there's a very nice book that explains all the kind of corresponding elements. Basically the narrative of the battle between good and evil. You have that in both Star Wars and Ramayana. Then the princess gets kidnapped, right? That sounds familiar. Yeah? You're not a fan of Star Wars? You never seen it? You don't have to, just keep reading that canto. Then you have a monkey warrior, Hanuman, corresponding to what? Huh? Who is it? You said R2D2? I don't think so. Chewbacca, yeah, the hairy creature. On and on like that. So yeah, maybe not be to the dot, but you can see and in the book is more explained. So, trying to see everything in the light of Bhagavatam. That is the quest. There is the hero's journey too, or the monomyth of original story. Original story is the story of Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. The beautiful, the most amazing narration, the original narration that contains everything. Guys, we're dealing with a powerful, very powerful literature here. Okay, I just want to mention that. Taking turns, yeah, somebody can start.
Religion includes four primary subjects, namely pious activities, economic development, satisfaction of the senses, and finally liberation from material bondage. Irreligious life is a barbarous condition. Indeed, human life begins when religion begins. Eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating are the four principles of animal life. These are common both to animals and to human beings. But religion is the extra function of the human being. Without religion, human life is no better than animal life. Therefore, in human societies, there is some form of religion which aims at self-realization and which makes reference to man's eternal relationship with God.
Any questions on this paragraph? Just freely. Yeah, interrupt, yes.
I had one about the translation.
About what?
The translation.
Transition.
Translation.
Oh, translation, huh?
It says, as soon as we hear attentively and submissively the message of Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. What does it mean to hear submissively?
Submissive hearing. Yeah, you're gonna have an open mind. You're gonna hear it, and you're gonna suspend. You're gonna try to suspend your disbelief, because we have mind that it's quite doubtful of things. But if we're able to suspend our disbelief just for and allow Bhagavatam to enter and to consider, because we hear so many fantastic things, right? And there's a lot of fantastic things that we hear in Bhagavatam. Creation and but scientists, the way scientists explain things, also it takes a lot of belief in that, right? But we blindly somehow follow. The school system has brought us up into just accepting the authority of our parents, the authority of people that our parents tell us you should listen to your teachers, right? So in the same way, in a similar way, now we have to open our mind to submissively hear a different kind of message that might not be in a line with how we're brought up and how we, our value system and everything. Bhagavatam will shake us to the core of who we are. That main thing that will shook your world is this idea that everybody is completely absorbed in that we're these bodies. Bhagavatam just completely turns it upside down, or downside up, should I say. And that's a revolution right there. And Prabhupada was very adamant, challenging the scientists, challenging so-called religionists into this very simple point, that life comes from life. Life does not come from matter. So, in that way, submissive.
And so, we should open our mind to these possibilities, but I also understand that we are safe to express our doubts when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, we need to, because if we don't, then they'll just fester. If we express them, then they can be dispelled. But we need to do that in a, like Gopal mentioned, we need to do that in a way that's not challenging or aggressive or egoistic.
Yeah, which will be a natural response is you're going to fight it. You want to fight it. So that might come out. For those who are having trouble controlling their senses, that might come out as challenging or more abrasive way of, question your authority, right? That's that's part of our upbringing, question the authority, which is the rebellious nature. It's kind of a side effect of improper education, because people are frustrated The reason why youth is frustrated, rebelling against authority, because there's nothing of substance there. And there's like intellectual and emotional abuse. As the Prabhupada said, the modern day education is like slaughterhouses for their intelligence. Because there's so much pain and suffering. Nobody's giving the nectar. Nobody's relishing the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, something that will nourish the soul. So therefore, being deprived of that, naturally you're going to rebel and question. Yes, Prabhu?
And also the very nature of our existence in the material world. It's kind of like, I was just thinking of an example, like in a prison, if you go there and amongst the prison population, you want to talk rules and regulations, it's not a very palatable subject matter, or anything along those lines. So similarly, my being here in the material world means I am opposed, not just badly educated, I'm opposed by my very nature of being here to such messages. That's what it means to be in the material world and to have a material body. I'm a criminal.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a reformatory process, and it will take some time. But in a climate and environment of good association, we can be healed. And Prabhupada refers to ISKCON, our movement, as a hospital for the heart, where the transformation takes place and healing takes place. Because we're all wounded in lesser or greater degree. And there's a great need to bring about this revolution of the heart from within. Okay, moving on. Yeah.
The mango is nectarian, the Bhagavatam is nectarian, but also we can read Bhagavatam but not taste the nectar, even though we can be attentive and be in class. I heard an analogy given that we have like a plastic coat on our tongue or something there that does not enable us to taste the nectar, even though it's full of nectar. Can you speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, the jaundice that was explained by Rupa Goswami, by jaundice example. Because we're in a disease, I mentioned the hospital, because in disease condition, we cannot fully taste the nectar of the holy name, nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jaundice, if we are affected by jaundice, the doctor will prescribe sugar. How do you experience sugar when you have jaundice? It's not sweet, I'll tell you that. I never had it, but I heard. It's bitter. So what do? Because it's bitter, you won't take it? If you trust the physician, if you have faith that this is the medicine, then you're going to keep taking it, although it's bitter. So although I don't have a taste of Srimad Bhagavatam and Shishi Gaurnitai Ki Jai and Kirtan and Gaurnitai Seva, I still do it. I don't feel like offering obeisances when I see a devotee because I don't have that feeling. So why should I be hypocritical? I don't have a feeling, so I shouldn't offer it, right? But one other way to get the feeling is you do it and the feeling will come. It's the same with Bhagavatam. I don't have a taste, but if I keep reading it, if I keep taking the medicine, then the taste will come. So there's never excuse. In a disease state, in a completely healed state, and all the intermediates. Bhagavatam is always good. Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned that we take the medicine because we trust the physician. So before we get into Srimad Bhagavatam, maybe we need an initial state of faith in that this is good for me, or faith in the devotee who told us to read it. So maybe that will help us get through when we don't like to read it.
Yeah, this is one of the glorification verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that was mentioned in, just 1 second. This is by if you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, you must approach self-realized Vaishnava and hear from him. This is what Swarup Damodar said. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, but what Swarup Damodar said, one of the Bengali poets. If you want to understand anything, you have to approach somebody who is expert in that subject. If I want to know coding, on how to code, I got to talk to Chris, right? I can't go to Janardana. I mean, Janardana, he can teach me how to blow the trumpet, but I got to go to Chris for coding. So same thing with Bhagavatam. For those who have, Vaishnavas who have taste, who have developed the taste and understand ins and outs of Bhagavatam, I can hear from them. I must hear from them in order to get that, right? Simple. All right, shall we continue? Or we're going to get stuck on the first paragraph of quite a long purport. But it's good. This is also important. This is where Bhagavatam happens in discussion. Unless you are tired and you're already asleep, as we heard yesterday, it's one of the cures for insomnia. Yes.
I'm ready to read.
Okay, good.
In the lower stages of human civilization, there is always competition to lord it over the material nature, or, in other words, there is a continuous rivalry to satisfy the senses. Driven by such consciousness, man turns to religion. He thus performs pious activities or religious functions in order to gain something material. But if such material gains are obtainable in other ways, then so-called religion is neglected. This is the situation in modern civilization. Man is thriving economically, so at present he is not very interested in religion. Churches, mosques, or temples are now practically vacant. Men are more interested in factories, shops, and cinemas than in religious places which were erected by their forefathers. This practically proves that religion is performed for some economic gains. That's a good point. Economic gains are needed for sense gratification. Often when one is baffled in the pursuit of sense gratification, he takes to salvation and tries to become one with the Supreme Lord. Consequently, all these states are simply different types of sense gratification.
So there's Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, right? Those are the four Purusharthas. But there's a fifth one. Which one is that? Prema, love of God. Most people are into Dharma or religion because they want some economic development. But even that is also skipped. If you can actually skip religion and just get, somehow or other, beg, borrow, steal, get to that wealth, get to that crypto, get to that good fortune of rolling a dice in Las Vegas, you don't have to be religious. You just hit the lottery, right? But all of that is all temporary, we understand. But normally Dharma comes first, religiosity, some kind of basic ethical principles in life, some guidelines. Then prosperity comes, right? Prosperity for everybody, not just me. But in today's world, we have a rather very, very chaotic situation where there's artificial insufficiency of wealth or resources. It's quite dramatic or sad, you can say, how much people struggle hard for existence. No animals are put to that torture. The cows just freely grazing there, freely, carefree grazing. And we have to just work so hard, like asses. For what? Just a little bit of sustenance. Very sad. Very sad Kali Yuga situation. So Dharma is forgotten. Kama or Artha is also quite chaotic. Kama, also everybody suffers in the name of sense gratification. And then a little bit of moksha. They're looking for moksha, liberation. So they find that elsewhere. It's very troublesome. And prema, love of God, that's far, far distance, unless and until we meet the devotee. So yesterday I saw Amrita and Gopi and Prabhu, they were distributing books, and so many freshmen were there. So once we meet a devotee, right, Venus? You met devotee a while back? Then the whole life starts getting a new perspective. Wow, there's more. There's more to life, right? there's actually the whole world out there, the whole new look on or perspective on life and world in general. So this Amala Purana is a brilliantest sun who will give a vision to all those who are lost in the age of Kali. Srimad Bhagavatam Amala Purana Vaishnavam Priya. This Bhagavatam is spotless. It's a spotless Purana that it's very, very dear to devotees. It's another verse of glorification. Spotless means it's free from these things, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. It's purely addressing Krishna, Krishna's devotees, and their loving relationship, because that's where pure love of God lays. That's where it's found. Love of God is not an abstract thing. It's a very congenial, very concrete thing that we can also partake in by reading and flipping and making sure our eyeballs go over the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you're really absorbed, it will be like, you know, those books when you open and then, how do you call those? It's like children books. When you open, yeah, Papa books, yeah. Then you have castles and then figurines. You have seen those? You open the book and it will just become alive if you're sufficiently absorbed. Okay, we're on a third. sorry guys, we're just on a third paragraph. But I'm glad we're talking about it. Okay, let's if maybe read just one more. And thank you all for reading. In the Vedas, the above mentioned 4 activities are prescribed in a regulative way, so that there will be any undue competition for sense gratification. But Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is purely transcendental literature, which can be understood only by the pure devotees of the Lord, who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. So this is why it's hard struggle for existence, because everybody wants to load it over. In the material world, there's keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. But devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions. They do not compete with materialists, because they are not on the path back to Godhead, where life is eternal and blissful. Do we also says we are not competing with materialists? Do we compete with each other? Do we compete with devotees? What is such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart. In the material world, everyone is envious of everyone else, and therefore there's competition. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone, and they strive to establish competitionless society with God in the center. The contemporary socialist conception of a competitionless society is artificial, because in the socialist state there's competition for the post of dictator. From the point of view of the Vedas, or from the point of view of the common human activities, such gratification is the basis of material life. There are 3 paths mentioned in the Vedas. One involves fruitive activities to gain promotion to better planets. Another involves worshipping different demigods for promotion to the planets of the demigods. And another involves realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature and becoming one with him. So competition, free of envy, these are all very core values of our path. Being of service, serving each other, being servant of the servant is what actually is the medicine for this envy, right? If you find yourself envious of someone, you serve that person. This is going to directly and most efficiently counteract. So again, we're trying to cure our heart for all these impositions and rather things that have corrupted our heart. Kama, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya. Matsarya is envy. Mada, madness, ultimately madness of this material existence. So we need to encourage each other, always encourage each other. If you can't say a kind word, better say nothing. Kind and inspiring. And serving each other. This will counteract this envy. Otherwise, the envy will sit there in the heart and will just pollute everything. It just simply pollutes everything. This is another thing, submissive hearing, that we won't be envious. When we not only submissively hear, but when we actually serve those who are devotees of Krishna, that also removes some obstacles, because Krishna is pleased with that attitude, and it will allow us to approach. We don't come to Krishna by our own power. Krishna is not impressed by any of that. We come to Krishna by invitation, and we get invited when we strike a chord of dasa, dasa, anudasa, being a servant of the servant of the servant, and being attentive to the needs of the moment. Because you cannot perform any service unless you recognize what the need of the moment is. So be kind, be attentive, and Krishna will bless you. Yes, I think we have reached the conclusion. Sorry we did not cover, this is your, I guess, homework, to finish the purport until the end and share with us what other jewels and nectarian realizations you have discovered. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Samsare, Krishna